It's Braves baseball, brought to you by Cook's Pest Control here at Champions Field at Lake Buena Vista, Florida. The Atlanta Braves getting ready to take on Eastern Division rival, the Washington Nationals. Great to be with you. Mike Morgan alongside former Atlanta Braves outfielder Brian Jordan. It seems like just yesterday the Braves were in the postseason taking on the San Francisco Giants. The Giants would go on to win the series and the World Series. The Braves hoping to make it back to the Fall Classic. If they do so, Brian, it'll be under the new direction, under a new manager but familiar face in Freddie Gonzalez.
What a fantastic choice by Frank Wren to bring in Freddie Gonzalez, who was fired by the Florida Marlins. Their loss in the Braves game. This is a guy who was mentored by Bobby Cox. I had a chance to play for Freddie. He was a third base coach. What a great guy. Great guy in the clubhouse, great leader. And now the Braves don't have to change anything because he knows the system. He knows the minor leagues. So it was a great choice for the Atlanta Braves.
Freddie Gonzalez, not the only new face that you'll find in the Braves dugout. The front office knew that they needed an extra bat, and they went out and got a good one, an all-star second baseman, Dan Uggla.
Well, we saw the lack of offense last year by the Atlanta Braves, especially down the stretch. Now you bring in a guy who hit 105 RBIs, 33 home runs last year, and he is a leader in that clubhouse. Freddie Gonzalez loved them down in Florida, and now he has a chance to play for these Atlanta Braves.
Not many new faces in the Braves rotation. Why would there be? That staff ranked among the best in all of Major League Baseball, and they are led by the veteran right-hander in Tim Hudson.
Comeback player of the year. This guy had Tommy John surgery. No one knew what to expect last year for him returning, but he was just awesome. 25 quality starts, led all Major League pitchers last year, and he is back and leading this rotation, and a very good one at that.
Absolutely. The Washington Nationals, they look to be a team on the rise in the Eastern Division. They picked up an awfully big acquisition, and all-star Jason Worth. Great crowd on hand, St. Patty's Day from Central Florida. First pitch is coming up. Upgrade your home's termite protection to the unbeatable combination Cook's Pest Control and Centricon. Call Cook's to get a free pest and termite evaluation. Happy St. Patrick's Day to one and to all here at Champion Stadium, Lake Buena Vista, Florida. With Brian Jordan, I'm Mike Morgan. A great crowd on hand. Beautiful weather here in Central Florida. All you need now is some baseball, and we're about to provide that for you. The Nationals coming in at 10-8. The Braves 12-6 on the season, of course, led by new manager Freddie Gonzalez. Let's take a look at the Washington Nationals starting lineup. Ian Desmond will get things going, the starting shortstop for the Nationals. He had a very good season last year, his first full season in the major leagues. They have a lot of high hopes for Desmond. Rick Ankiel, former Atlanta Brave. Jason Worth, the big pickup, of course, in the offseason. They're going to be depending a lot on his bat. Adam LaRoche, every year the guy produces, and every year he's on a different team. Michael Morse having a monster spring, followed by Hairston, the veteran. Ramos battling Rodriguez at the catcher spot. Brian Bixler, and the starting pitcher, Yuneski Maya. Defensively for Atlanta, the Braves really were done in by some shoddy defense last year. They hope to improve on that this year. Pretty good looking outfield in terms of speed. Schaefer, McLouth, and Hayward left to right. On the diamond, Chipper Jones at the hot corner. Freddie Freeman, everybody talks about his offense, but that rookie has a terrific glove at first. Gonzalez and Ugla is your new double play combination up the middle. And Brian McCann, the reliable one, behind home plate. McCann will be working with his battery mate, Tim Hudson. Tim Hudson, who had a terrific season last year. He was the comeback player of the year in baseball. He had 25 quality starts, and they hope that Tim Hudson can just do anything close to what he did last season. Already off to a good spring, much like everybody in this rotation. A 1-0 record and a very minuscule earned run average, 2.00. When you're talking about Tim Hudson, Brian, you're talking about a guy that's been there, done that, and someone you love to go to war with.
Been there, done it for a long time, starting his career in Oakland. But this is a guy that every manager wants on his team. He doesn't just go out there and perform well on the mound, but he keeps his teammates loose, especially when you talk about young guys like Jair Jurgen, Hanson. He will give them all the knowledge that he has because he's willing to share that. And the thing about him is he has fun. He is the team jokester. He loves to just set guys up, get some laughs, and really keep this team loose. And that's an important part of it.
He was a guy that everybody was curious how he would do coming off the Tommy John surgery, a full season last year. And, well, all he did was put together one of the best seasons of his career. So if there was any questions as to how Tim Hudson is going to pitch after the injury, I think he answered them emphatically last year.
He sure did. I mean, everybody talks about getting that Tommy John, you come back stronger. Well, just another great example of Tim Hudson last year.
Umpiring crew, veterans, Larry Vanover behind home plate, Jeff Nelson at first, Lance Burksdale at second, and Ed Hickox over at third. Ian Desmond will step into the box momentarily, and we'll be underway from Champion Stadium in Central Florida. Great crowd on hand, and again a beautiful day weather-wise as Hudson lines go, and the first pitch.
Ball club. This kid right here, Ian Desmond, one of the most talented young shortstops in the league, and he continues to get better. Last year, outstanding season for him, hitting 269, 10 home runs, 65 RBIs. He sure has a bright future ahead of him.
You see the numbers last season in 154 games. They want him to improve his defense. He did lead the majors with 35 errors, but Desmond is a guy that, much like a lot of the young players on this Nationals team, really has a bright future. And Washington has obviously had a lot of high draft picks lately, and you know, Bryce Harper is not here, but certainly he is one of the main cogs of the future. 1-2 pitch is inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the starting shortstop.
Well, the thing that the Nationals are doing, they're starting to surround guys like Ian, the young guys, with veterans. You know, you bring in Jason Worth, Adam LaRoche over at first base, who is a fantastic Gold Glove first baseman. A lot of times when you got the big man over there last year, the big donkey playing first base, LaRoche is going to make some of those grabs. And, you know, now Desmond, he doesn't have 35 RBIs. I mean, in errors, I'm sorry. He only has 25 because Adam LaRoche is a great first baseman. He's going to bail him out a lot.
Swing and a miss at the payoff pitch, and Hudson goes to work in fine fashion. A strikeout of the first batter.
Just one of those good fastballs. Started away, but it kind of sunk back across the middle.
Well, you just hit on the key word when it comes to Tim Hudson. Sinking, sunk. Going to be a lot of hard sinking fastballs against the veteran right-hander as Rick Ankiel cuts and misses. Last time we saw Rick Ankiel was in a Braves uniform. He hit that incredible bomb in the playoff series against San Francisco on the road, a ball that reached the water, McCovey Cove.
And not too many people can reach McCovey Cove. You can just think about those blasts that Barry Bonds used to have, but last year Rick Ankiel kind of matched that with that bomb during the playoffs.
Ankiel, the former pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, had that infamous meltdown against the Braves. And since then has had a long road back to Major League Baseball as an everyday outfielder.
Give him a lot of credit. I mean, that's hard to do. And just to, lose that confidence as a pitcher and have everybody give up on you, but then you go back down and you kind of transition yourself back into, I don't want to say, because you got a lot of pitchers as athletes, but to be able to go to the outfield, be athletic, make diving catches, and still have a great arm from the outfield, give him a lot of credit. I mean, a lot of guys would have given up and just took their losses, but not Rick Ankiel. He came back and, wow, what a big splash he's making in that outfield.
2-2 from Hudson is fouled off at the plate. Ankiel hitting .206 in the spring. He's really struggled a bit. He had a great year in Kansas City a few years ago, but has struggled mightily at the plate since. And for a guy like Ankiel, it's almost as if every year he's trying to prove himself again. 2-2 is lined in the left, and that'll be a base hit. Schaefer does a good job of cutting it off. Trying to get into second is Ankiel, and he'll be there. Wasn't sure if Ankiel was going to take an aggressive turn and go for two, but he did all the way.
Well, Rick Ankiel, he came out of the box running. He saw he hit that ball in the gap. And Rick Ankiel can run a little bit, so he knew when he hit that ball, he was looking to right away. Never stopped around first base, and a good strong throw by Schaefer. Over the shortstop's head.
Rick Ankiel with 13 doubles last season. And a nice job of taking the pitch the other way there. Now Jason Worth, and boy, did he make some headlines in the offseason. When you ink a $126 million contract, that'll open up a lot of eyes.
Yes, it did. You got a lot of people out there saying he's not worth it, but you look at what he did last year for Philadelphia. I mean, he was Mr. Clutch. Every time they needed a big hit, he really came through. And I tell everybody, it's about time, and it was his time to be a free agent. And he really set the tone for the market this year.
2 balls, no strikes. Now the count on Worth, the right fielder. A year ago, Brian, you and I were here calling a game against the Phillies. Jason Worth hit a mammoth home run against Kenshin Kawakami, and you see the numbers from a year ago. Very impressive. This guy's been one of the more underrated players the last few years in baseball. But now, when you sign that kind of a contract, you're not underrated anymore. Now the question is, will you be overrated? And there's a lot of pressure that comes with a deal like that.
Well, you're under the microscope. Everybody opened their eyes to see what Jason Worth's going to do. The Nationals, they took a chance, and now it's time to pay off for Jason Worth. I think he's an outstanding 5-tool player. He's not just a good power hitter, but he plays great defense, and he has one of the best arms in right field in the league.
Ahead on the count now, 3 balls and 1 strike. Worth, like a lot of those Philadelphia Phillies, crowds the plate. And if he would spit straight down, it probably would hit the inside corner. He likes to bunch up in there.
He likes to challenge the pitchers. He wants to invite that inside fastball, because he has quick enough hands to turn on.
And he draws a walk. So after the strikeout of Desmond, Ankiel doubles. Worth draws a walk. 2 on, 1 out for Adam LaRoche. And here's a guy, Brian, I know you have a great deal of respect for, and every year he puts up very good numbers. 280 thus far for the spring. This is his 5th team since 2009, which is amazing for a guy averaging 25 homers and 89 RBIs a year.
It's amazing, and he continues to produce, like you said. But he's one of those quiet players. He's not going to be loud in the clubhouse. He kind of goes under the radar, and he just continues to perform on the field. And I don't know what the reason is, but you look at what's going on around the league. Teams are not signing guys to long-term deals, especially when you start getting 33, 34 years of age. And unfortunate for LaRoche.
There's the defense by Freeman. And they'll have to settle for an out, but no run scores. And we're going to be saying that name a lot in conjunction with the words great defensive play. Freddie Freeman at first Brian, we've seen him do this a lot at Gwinnett, the AAA affiliate for the Braves. Very quick for a big guy.
I'll tell you what, if I had to pick a Gold Glove first baseman to start this season, it would be Freddie Freeman, even though he's a rookie. That's one thing I don't worry about with him. He has a great glove, and he's agile for a big guy. He moves around pretty good. He told me he gained about 12 pounds this offseason, but still looks quick to me right there.
You and I were down in the field earlier. Terry Pendleton was somewhat kidding, but in a lot of ways serious about the fact that he wants Freddie to aim for a Gold Glove in this his rookie campaign, and he's the kind of guy that could do it. Again, he's got tremendous instincts and quickness for a first baseman of that size.
The thing I like about Freddie is he makes adjustments. Last year we saw in Gwinnett early in the season, pitchers were throwing him away, and he struggled early, but all of a sudden he started hitting that ball the other way with some authority, and you couldn't get him out the rest of the season. Outstanding AAA season down in Gwinnett, and I think he is ready for the big leagues. He's ready for the spotlight.
And there'll be a big one shining on him this season, no question about that, as Michael Morse digs in, and what a spring he has had. He leads the Grapefruit League with 5 home runs. He's got a .429 batting average.
He has some quick hands. To be able to have that stance and hold that bat out and stretch those arms, I mean, you really have to be quick to get that bat back in and through the zone as quick as he does. I mean, 5 home runs. I mean, that says a lot.
Reminds you a little bit of Jack Clark, the way he holds it and then swings. A big lumberjack, much like Clark was back in his day, his prime with the Cardinals. The numbers on Morse last year, and that's only in 98 games. They feel like this is a guy in a full season that could hit 30 home runs.
He's a power hitter, and you have to be strong to be able to hold your arm straight out like that and still be able to hit with so much power.
Towering fly ball will work its way into foul ground and out of play. 25 pitch first inning thus far for Tim Hudson, trying to get out of a jam here in the first.
That's no surprise. Tim is normally a slow starter, but as the game goes on, he just dominates.
Payoff pitch. Strike 3 call. Morse tried to sell it. Larry Vanover says no sale, and the side is retired. Tim Hudson works around a hit and a walk. No score. The Braves coming up. Morse and Keel and Worth out in right field. Jason Worth, pretty good defensive player as well. Bixler, Desmond, Hairston, LaRoche, left to right in the infield. Ramos is the starting catcher, and Maya is the pitcher. Yuniesky Maya, who comes in with some good numbers, 1-0 record of 1.04 earned run average. You see nearly a strikeout an inning. He's a 29-year-old Cuban defector, had a stellar career in the Cuban National Series, which is the equivalent of Major League Baseball in Cuba, and they believe he's got a good shot at earning a rotation spot. And of course, the Nationals have really struggled in the rotation over the years. Beautiful weather conditions here in Central Florida, 81 degrees. Humidity, you get used to that after a while. Not much wind to speak of. You're going to have to earn any home runs you hit in this ballpark today. Nate McLouth will be the first batter. Second in the Grapefruit League with 8 walks, and again that .346 average. And this is a guy that really could use a good spring. Last year, you might recall, he had a nightmare spring that led into a nightmare season, which included injuries, demotions, and Brian, he just never could get his confidence going a year ago.
Well, you know, for me, it's about preparation. I just think he didn't prepare as well as he's doing this spring. He came in and there was a lot of pressure on him because he, as you remember, he was traded over to the Braves.
Beautiful line drive down the left field line and into the corner. McLouth will dig for 2, and he'll be there easily, and Nate McLouth continues to swing a hot bat.
Again, if you remember, he was traded a couple years ago when he just came to the Braves and played about a half a season. So coming into last year, they expected some big things out of him. He got off to a slow start, and all of a sudden that pressure just gets larger, and he just couldn't handle it. And mentally, I think this offseason, he really prepared himself. He's in great shape, and he's looking forward to proving himself again. And this is a good sign when you see Nate McLouth get off to a hot start.
Now Alex Gonzalez. Braves picking up the veteran shortstop in a trade in the middle of last year in exchange for Yunel Escobar. Gonzalez started off the year red hot, cooled off a bit late. Braves would love to see him put it all together in one complete season in Atlanta. Swings and misses at a high fastball, 90 miles per hour.
Well, if you remember last year when he was with Toronto, he was hitting with a lot of power, a lot of authority the other way. And when he got traded over to the Braves, although he's a Gold Glove shortstop, he cooled off a little bit. That power was gone. I just think he started pressing a little bit. He wanted to come over and really prove himself as a hitter. And when you get off to a slow start, that pressure just mounts up. And really affected him last year. He really showed his emotion and got a, you know, he was just showing it to the fans at the end of the season. If you remember last year, you know, he would ground out and he's snapping his bat off. He wanted to prove so much and wanted Bobby to end on a good note and do well for him, and it just didn't work out for him.
2-1 pitch, comebacker fielded nicely by Maya. He's got McLouth hung up. And here we go. 1-5. And did not make the tag. McLouth's going to make this interesting. And finally he is tagged. And now, oh no, they've got Gonzalez hung up. And it's going to be a double play.
Not good base running there. Wow. I'm not even sure how you score this.
Well, if from a Braves standpoint, badly.
1-5, but then back to 1. And a double play. And in a situation like that, Gonzalez has to commit and just run to second base. When you see the third baseman miss him, you got to commit and go hard in the second base. You cannot allow them, Washington Nationals, to turn a double play there.
I know mistakes like that drive you crazy. And base running has become the lost art in Major League Baseball. It's like the mid-range jumper in basketball. It just seems like it gets worse and worse every year.
It's a part of the game, fundamentals that you learn when you're very young. And, you know, as guys get older, you don't think you have to teach them anymore. And like you said, it's a lost art.
Now Chipper Jones, who's been red hot in the spring. 7th in the Grapefruit League with a .375 batting average, pair of home runs, and looking healthy. Lazy fly to left center. And Keel will put it away for out number 3. So Maya dances out of trouble thanks in part to the base running blunder at the end of an inning. No score. No score here from Central Florida. The Braves taking on the Nationals. This was the play that really did the Braves in that last inning. And Brian, you brought up the key point. McLeod's doing his job, but Alex Gonzalez has to commit.
Exactly. Fantastic job by McLeod, standing the rundown, trying to allow Gonzalez to get to second base. But unfortunately, Gonzalez kind of got stuck in no man's land in the middle instead of just running hard to second base and just giving up one out there and still having a guy in scoring position.
That, of course, would wipe the bases clean. Side retired. And here we go with Jerry Hairston leading things off in the top of the second.
You talk about a guy who's well traveled. 17 for Jerry Hairston.
Backhanded pick by Chipper, and then lobs the throw, and that'll be an error. Defensively for the Braves last year was a nightmare.
That's just a tough ball right there, kind of handcuffed Chipper. That's one of the toughest plays to make when the ball gets that deep and you got to try to backhand it. Unless you have an outfielder's mitt like I had, you're not going to make that play with one of those small infield mitts.
Now Ramos, the catcher. Wilson Ramos, a guy the Nationals are very high on. They believe he might be able to supplant the future Hall of Famer Ivan Rodriguez at catcher. And that's saying something.
Well, Ramos has a good mentor in Pudge Rodriguez, but now he's ready. He has a strong arm, a really good defensive catcher, and now he knows how to call a game. I mean, you learned from Pudge last year, and now it's your time.
Hudson dials up a fastball low. There's Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge, as he's been affectionately called for so many years now, the better part of the last 2 decades.
When you have a veteran like Pudge traveling to Orlando and not starting, you got a lot of confidence in that Ramos right now.
Two-0 pitch on the way is off the plate outside. Ramos last year in AAA hitting .241 with 5 home runs. Of course, behind him, one of the top catchers in all of baseball, and Brian McCann. A quick walk to Ramos, and the first 2 are aboard here in the second.
Looks like that sinker is sinking too quick for Timmy right now.
Hudson had the strikeout of the leadoff batter. No strikeouts since then, but that's really not a surprise. He's kind of, I don't want to say reinvented himself, but he's a different pitcher in terms of he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts anymore. For his career, he's averaging around 6, but last year that was closer to 4.
He gets a lot of ground balls. I mean, that's his job, getting that double play. And he's got a man on first or second, no outs right now. It would be a huge double play. He did a great job last year keeping that ball down in the zone.
Yeah.
He rarely got a ball up, and guys just didn't hit the ball long off of him last year.
Check swing appeal. He went around, says Jeff Nelson.
That's just a nasty pitch. It looks like it's just dropping off the table. The bottom just drops out of the ball.
Braves have a lot of hurlers that love to go with sinking fastballs. That ball a little bit off the plate, which makes the infield defense so important. You know your infield is going to be extremely active. And you go back to last year, and again, the defense was a little bit of a letdown. Second most errors of any team in the National League. The only teams that had more, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the opponent today, the Washington Nationals.
Not too many teams had as many different lineups as the Braves did last year with all the injuries. They were so many players shuttled up and down from AAA last year. It was just amazing. It says a lot about Bobby Cox as a manager that they made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, you look at what the Braves infield was on opening day and what it was during the latter part of the season. Entirely different. 1-2 pitch from Huddy. Ground ball to third. Chipper's got this one cleanly. 5-4, and a nice job taking out the shortstop by Wilson Ramos. Beg your pardon, taking out Ugla there on the throw to second. Making no chance for a double play. They'll be at the corners now with one out. You look at the active career leaders in groundouts. Derek Lowe, Tim Hudson, 1 and 2. Ivan Hernandez, of course, a Washington National pitcher. But these guys, they know how to get ground balls, and that's why that infield defense is so very important for this Atlanta team.
Sinker ball pitchers. Derek Lowe, one of the nastiest sinkers in the game. When they get in trouble, they always find a way out of it with those nasty sinkers. As you just saw the ground ball to Chipper.
No balls and a strike to the pitcher Maya, already tipping off. He's looking to put one down. Drops it down to the right. Hudson's there, and the sacrifice is true. Second and third with 2 outs. And back to the top of the order. Ian Desmond, a strikeout victim, his first time up.
Believe me, in spring training, managers look to see their starting pitchers, make sure they do the job with the bats. And you'd be amazed. Those guys who can get the ball down and pitch well, they end up making the team because of their offense capability. Getting that sacrifice down and then going out there and perform. It's not an easy task.
1 ball, no strikes to the National shortstop. That's, of course, something that Tim Hudson does about as well as any pitcher in the National League. He's such a great hitter, good bunter.
Last year, he didn't just pitch well. He got some good big-time hits last year, and if you talk to him, he'll remind you of that.
Takes a lot of pride in it. Former Auburn Tiger, great hitter in the Southeastern Conference during his illustrious career.
He was a power hitter at Auburn.
He actually led the league in runs batted in, which is unheard of. Great athlete. Was not a high draft pick. The reason being he's not the prototype when it comes to a pitcher. He's only about 6 feet tall.
Well, when I played with him, when we were teammates, I used to tease him. I said, man, that little body of yours, how did you possess that much power at Auburn? And I heard he hit some bombs out at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, they've retired his number over there at Plainsman Park. Three balls, no strikes. And that one misses. So strike zone bouncing around a little bit on Hudson as he struggled to find the plate since that opening strikeout. And now Ankiel, who doubled his first time up.
Good piece of hitting last time by Rick Ankiel. One of those sinkers running away from him. He stayed on it and drove it into the left center gap.
And again, struggling to get it above the knees is Tim Hudson. You know, going back to how the Braves acquired Tim Hudson back in 2004, they swapped the deal with the Oakland A's, in which they gave up Juan Cruz, Dan Meyer, and Charles Thomas. I'd say Atlanta did pretty well with that trade.
Yes, they did.
Year veteran Tim Hudson. He's signed through 2012, club option for 2013, and he has shown no signs of being ready to retire anytime soon. This will be pitch number 46 for Hudson. We're only in the second. And a slow breaking ball drops in for a strike.
That was the equalizer right there. A lot of guys looking for that sinker away, and he throws that slow curveball. Look at the loop of that ball.
Swing and a miss, strike 3, and a high fastball. Now Hudson again pitching with traffic on the diamond, but gets out of it. Middle of the second, still no score. Using the styrofoam or foam tomahawk here at Champion Stadium. Great crowd on hand. Beautiful day weather-wise. Fans on the berm soaking in some sun, and not too many empty seats here at the ballpark. Braves and the Nationals, two teams that will face one another several times throughout the regular season, 18 to be exact. A lot of people believe Washington. Well, I thought Jim Riggleman did a great job with the Nationals last year. They eventually ran out of gas, but a team that could be on the rise this season. McCann, Uggla, and Hayward due up in the home half of the second.
Washington Nationals are scary this year. You add a couple veterans. You lose the big donkey's power, but you add a gold glove first baseman who's going to save you a lot of runs with his defense, but he's going to drive in 85, 90 runs and hit 29, 30 home runs.
0-2 pitch to McCann. Skies one to deep center. And Keel on his horse, now slowing up and makes the grab.
See that wind blowing off to the right field. I thought Brian got him right there, but he saw Rick Ankiel take off, and all of a sudden he had to stop real quick because that ball was coming back. Great job by Rick Ankiel, just turning and running just the way you teach it.
And now Dan Uggla jumps on the first one and fouls it away. A lot of eyes going to be on this guy this season. 231 batting average thus far this spring. No home runs as of yet. Uggla, though, has been a lock for 25 to 30 home runs a year since he made it to the majors with the Florida Marlins.
One thing I don't worry about is Dan Uggla in spring training. He's never hit good in spring training. I think his average is probably about 210 in the 3 years of spring trainings.
And strike 3 called. Uggla thought it was outside, but Maya brings him up with a backward K.
Yuniesky is really deceiving. He hides that ball well, and I think he just had Dan Uggla fooled there. It looked like he might have been coming out of there with a curveball, and he threw a fastball, just painted the outside corner.
Jason Hayward hitting .417 in the spring. He's missed the last 5 games with an ailing back. Back in the lineup today and hoping to pick up where he left off. He was hitting the ball well to start off spring training, much like he did a year ago. Those numbers, any rookie in their right mind would take. He wound up finishing second in the Rookie of the Year award. But a lot of people, when they look at Jason Heyward, they see numbers that could completely eclipse those. I mean, you hear some people talking about Jason Heyward having 30, 35 home runs. That's a lot of pressure on a kid who's 21 years old.
Well, I don't think it's pressure any longer. I mean, expectations were so high on him last year, and he did an outstanding job in his first year. We remember he started his first at bat, a bomb off Zambrano to start his career. So
it's nailed on an inside fastball there, so Jason Heyward will take first.
This is just a fastball by Maya. He's hiding it well. And he actually throws pretty hard, that fastball. Jason just couldn't get out of the way.
Well, now his longtime friend and roommate, Freddie Freeman, comes to the dish.
Best of friends. Came in together. Roomed every year together. Even last year with Freddie playing in Gwinnett and Jason in Atlanta, they had an apartment together. Just really good friends, and that's why it's going to be such a fun time this year to watch both of those guys continue to mature together. I mean, that eases a lot of pressure when if you're Freddie Freeman coming into your rookie year after your good longtime friend had an outstanding rookie year. It just eases the pain.
Freeman is also only 21 years of age, and the Braves really showed a lot of patience last year when you think of all the problems they had at first before they eventually acquired Derek Lee. And Atlanta was certainly in need of a first baseman, and you've got this guy 30 miles away at Gwinnett who's just knocking the cover off the baseball. But probably the right move to not rush it, let him get some more seasoning, and now everybody seems to believe that he is truly ready to be a Major League Baseball first baseman.
Well, last year in spring training, Bobby asked me the question, should I start him out in Double-A or Triple-A? And I said, Bobby, let him make the adjustments in Triple-A. You'll see a lot of veteran pitchers, guys who didn't make it in the big leagues but have that experience, and he'll see a lot of different things. And if you remember last year, Mike, he started out slow, but man, he made every adjustment necessary to be successful. And by the latter part of the season, pitchers couldn't get him out. But I really think Frank made the right decision leaving him down all year.
There was a time at Gwinnett where Freddie was struggling a bit and had some injuries. The second half of the season, I mean, it was darn near impossible to get him out. He was doing everything well, and the power came late. Getting on base came easily to Freddie Freeman early on, and then all of a sudden the power surge. And this is a guy that I don't know if right away the expectations for a lot of power is there, but in time, as he continues to get bigger, stronger, and better, Freddie Freeman could be not just a good hitting first baseman, but maybe even a slugging first baseman.
Well, he does that well too. I mean, he doesn't swing in a lot of bad pitches, and he's not afraid to take the walk. And that's just going to improve his on-base percentage and his confidence as he, makes this transition into the big leagues.
Well, there aren't many battles this year for the Braves in spring training in terms of the lineup. But a lot of people think that Jordan Schaefer might be able to give Nate McLouth a run for his money. Schaefer not having the spring that he would like thus far, jumps on the first pitch, and that will retire the side. Hudson and Maya able to dance out of trouble through 2 innings, still scoreless here from Central Florida. No score. A happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there in TV land. Great day to be at the ballpark. Just a couple weeks away from the start of the Major League Baseball season. Starts a little bit earlier this year. Remember, last year was on April 5th. This year it'll be on March the 31st. And I think for a lot of these players, particularly the veterans, it can't start soon enough. Jason Worth, Adam LaRoche, and Michael Morse, the heart of the lineup, due up for the Nationals. Worth drew a walk his first time up. Worth with that grizzly beard. Looks at a breaking ball out of the zone, ball one. Worth was a guy that just kind of blended in with that lineup of superstars in Philadelphia.
Say more than blended in. Pretty much led that team, especially down the stretch. They needed the big clutch hits. He was really coming through.
There's no question that his productivity was as good as anybody's. I think a lot of people just lost sight of Worth at times as he skies one to right. Hayward has a beat on it and will make the catch on the track. But you know, when you're playing with guys like Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins ahead of you, those guys tend to steal the headlines, and now Jason Worth, he is the headliner in the nation's capital.
Well, if you remember last year, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, those guys were hurt most of the season. So they needed somebody to really step up, and it was Jason Worth.
Now Adam LaRoche takes a ball low. And for Tim Hudson, that is pitch number 50. This stat brought to you by Cook's Pest Control. And you see 26 strikes, 24 balls. Too many pitches for Tim Hudson's liking. But he's on pace for a quick inning here as LaRoche hits a routine one to Schaefer.
Not the ratio the pitching coaches like to see. 26 strikes and 24 balls. I'm quite sure Roger McDowell was probably in his ear this past inning.
Now Michael Morse. Little tapper up along third, barehanded by Chipper. Nice play. 1-2-3, nothing across for the Nationals in the third. Bottom half coming up. We're still scoreless. Career victories, 29 years as a major league manager. Bobby Cox enjoying the action here from Central Florida. And Bobby Cox, a mentor of many, including the current Braves manager, Fredi Gonzalez.
And my goal before spring training ends is to get him a uniform. You know, and I tell him that, you know, to get him back in uniform, be on the field, and he's not ready to do that yet, you know. But our relationship is it's almost father and son. It really is.
Well said right there. And I'll tell you what, a great time in my life was the Atlanta Sports Council Awards. I was able to give Bobby Cox the Lifetime Achievement Award. And, man, sitting next to Bobby for that whole event, he told me, and that's his wife right beside him, Pam, This is the first time he ever sat in the stands with his wife to watch a spring training game, and he feels good about it. I mean, he is really happy. He's in a happy place. And I'll tell you what, I would have lost a bet because Bobby is short on words. But when he got that award, he spoke for about 5 minutes. And when we were walking off the stage, I said, Bobby, I would have lost a bet. As you see Tim Hudson go down on strikes, Bobby looked at me and said, well, how was I, Jordy? And I said, you know what, Bobby, you made me laugh. So it was a lot of fun. But it seems like he's really enjoying his retirement.
I think it's a lot easier now. I remember back in October being at his farewell press conference with the Braves, where they basically handed over the torch over to Freddie Gonzalez, and you could tell there was still a look on Bobby's face like, I don't want it to end just yet. I can't believe it's over. But you take a few months off, you have some vacation time, and I think now it's still in his blood. It always will be, but I think now he's more prepared to move on to the next stage of his life, and that's so hard for anybody, but particularly when you're in the game as long as Bobby was, and if you're as successful as Bobby Cox was.
He gets a chance to enjoy his grandkids.
Another quick at bat for the Braves. Hudson strikes out, McLeod grounds out. 2 gone.
And that's what he told me. He said, I get a chance to enjoy my grandkids. I get a chance to finally enjoy my wife and watch baseball. But he said, Brian, it's tough to just walk away. So right now, this is therapy. Coming down to spring training, still being around the game, enjoying it with my wife and grandkids. And it's still going to take time for him to just walk away from the game. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but he's finally getting a chance to see the other side of life outside of managing.
Alex Gonzalez looks at the first pitch for a strike. Gonzalez acquired from the Blue Jays back on July 15th of last year. This one hit toward the gap, and there to cut it off and put it away is Jason Worth. A 1-2-3 inning for Yuniesky Maya. Pitcher's duel early on. We head to the 4th, still no score. No score as we get you set for the top of the 4th. Want to remind everybody to catch more spring training games from the Atlanta Braves on CSS. Tune in Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to see the Braves take on the New York Mets. And visit CSS-sports.com to see additional Braves spring training games this March right here on CSS. Alongside Brian Jordan, Mike Morgan with you here from the ballpark. No score. Tim Hudson, Yuniesky Maya cruising somewhat, at least in terms of runs scored. And Tim Hudson has labored a little bit on the mound with his control, throwing a good amount of pitches. He did have a 6-pitch 3rd inning, and we'll see if he can keep that economical pace here in the 4th, facing Hairston, Ramos, and Bixler. 6, 7, 8 in the Washington order.
Mike, the amazing thing about starting pitchers down in spring training, they're really not pressed about getting guys out early. They try to work on things. They try to gain control of that sinker. So when they throw a lot of pitches, they don't panic because it's, I don't want to, it's strategic for a better word, I guess.
One down as Hairston grounds out to Chipper Jones.
I mean, I remember talking to Greg Maddux. He was like, Brian, all I try to do is get ground balls in spring training. I don't want to show veteran guys that I'm going to face during the season, you know, all I have. You know, I want to throw a fastball right down the middle so they think they're going to get that during the season. You know, I want to make them look good. It's just amazing the minds of starting pitchers. Greg Maddux was one of the best.
I'd say so. Ramos looks at a called strike. You see Greg Maddux around Atlanta from time to time. So many former Braves like yourself that are either involved with the organization or make their way back to Turner Field for a number of games throughout the season.
I just enjoy Atlanta. Great organization, especially when Bobby was there. And by the way, Michael, Richmond Spiders won today.
That is the aside of the day right there, as that ball is into the seats. Well, congratulations. One of the most famous Richmond alums right here to my right, and Brian Jordan.
Not to change the subject, but the Spiders.
Oh, that was a beautiful segue. I like that. 0-2 the count on Ramos. And that's a laced, just foul down the left field line.
And that's a broken bat. A little firewood. This is just a nasty sinker. Ramos was able to get his hands in on it, but usually I say the bat dies a hero, but it didn't that time. Just missed it.
No balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Here in the top of the 4th. Tim Hudson, ordinarily a quick worker on the mound. And we'll do it again at 0-2. Great year for Tim Hudson. Really the most consistent pitcher on the Braves staff. And considering how many great performances Atlanta got from its staff last season, that's really saying something. 25 quality starts. You think about it, a good year for any starting pitcher is 30 starts total. And Tim Hudson, 25 times he went out there and gave you everything you could ask for to pick up a win. He was 9th in the majors in earned run average, 2.83.
And again, remember, fans, he was coming off Tommy John.
4th strikeout for Tim Hudson.
That's just another good sinker by Tim Hudson.
As we reset our look at the game thus far, brought to you by Cook's Pest Control. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan. Scoreless game here in the 4th from Champion Stadium in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Tim Hudson a little bit shaky early on with his control, looking good thus far. Nobody able to get much offense going. Each team with only 1 base hit. And the lone error on the Braves, Chipper Jones.
Give a lot of credit to Yuneski Maya. He's throwing the ball very well.
Pitch outside to Brian Bixler, who's had a solid spring. 375 batting average, a homer, and 5 runs batted in. That ball popped back foul our way. A souvenir in the sea of green. St. Patrick's Day alive and well here in Central Florida. Braves, of course, wearing the green caps in honor of that. Got a couple of shamrocks out there on the infield. Bixler fights that one off foul.
It's one of the few pitches Tim Hudson threw up in the zone today. Struck out Rick Ankiel with a high fastball and goes up high to Bixler.
You could win a lot of money on a trivia question that has Tim Hudson involved in the answer. I'll tell you about that in a moment. First, the 2-2 pitch. Routine grounder to second. Ugla. Easy money to first, and the side is retired. We'll complete the thought when we return. Middle of the fourth. We're still scoreless. Ready for the bottom of the fourth inning. St. Patrick's Day alive and well here in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Now that's really taking it to another level. Anybody can wear a green shirt, some green item of clothing. If you dye your hair green, that's showing the commitment. And the Braves, of course, donning the green caps here today. St. Patrick's Day, before you know it, it'll be Easter. All those holidays signify the start of Major League Baseball, which is great.
Baseball is back.
A very entertaining 2010 season, not just for the Braves, but overall. And what a great story. The San Francisco Giants winning the World Series.
Wow.
I don't think many people saw that coming.
Outstanding run for the San Francisco Giants.
Chipper Jones steps in, takes a ball.
And you're right. I mean, you love the underdog. And the fact that the Giants made it, I think it's a little side of you just pulled for the Giants. You know, I'm a big Bruce Bochy fan. You know, he's a great manager. He's laid back. And even when they beat the Braves, you know, the class that he showed to Bobby with the players going out on the field and tipping their cap to Bobby Cox, you had to pull for them going into the next series and into the World Series. And I'm just happy and, you know, give kudos to Bruce Bochy.
Well, in a day and age where everybody thinks it's the biggest of the market clubs that only have a chance, the Giants proved a lot of people wrong. A 30-1 shot at the beginning of the year to win the World Series, and it just goes to show you what great pitching and timely hitting can do for any ball club.
Don't discount the Texas Rangers. I mean, what a job they did in that American League.
And I don't think they're going anywhere. They've got a lot of good young talent.
They do. It really surprised me about the Mikey Young situation, but somehow, some way, they're going to have to rid that problem before the season starts. And hopefully Mikey Young will go on to a great team. But what an outstanding franchise player for Texas Rangers for so long.
Payoff to Chipper. High and deep to center. And Keel racing back, looking up near the wall. It's gone! Chipper Jones with his third home run of the spring to lead the Braves. And Atlanta strikes first, 1-0.
Wow, if you had any doubts about his knee, unbelievable. It didn't look like he got that ball, but it just shows the power that he still has. He still possesses a lot of power. He sits back on that back leg and a nice, easy swing. And that's Chipper when he's going good. He never overswings, just drops the head on the bat.
10 RBIs to go along with those 3 home runs for Chipper Jones, who ranks among the leaders all time in Braves history in home runs, as well as a number of other categories. There's so many numbers when you look at Chipper Jones's career in a vacuum. It's hard to extract just one. I think one of the ones that impresses me the most, as you see the 1 ball 1 strike pitch outside to McCann. Lifetime, a switch hitter over 300, both left-handed and right-handed.
That's why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
McCann flails away. At that point, it's 2-2.
It's a good pitch by Uneski. Gives you that fastball motion, and he just drops a 12-6 curveball on you.
High chopper to first. LaRoche is there. First out of the inning as Brian McCann grounds out. Brian McCann, a 5-time All-Star, 5 seasons in the bigs, 5 All-Star games. And Freddie Gonzalez says, you know what, as good as Brian is, I think he can be not just a great offensive player, but a Gold Glove catcher as well.
Well, Freddie knows. When Freddie was the third base coach with the Braves and Brian was just coming up, Freddie used to work with Brian McCann all the time, just working on his quick release, his footwork, and that's what Freddie does. And his job is to continue to make Brian McCann better.
Lazy fly to left. Morse is under and puts it away for out number 2. When you talk about Freddie Gonzalez, 4 seasons as Bobby Cox's third base coach. So he's very familiar with a lot of the players on this team and obviously the organization. I remember when the news came down last season that Freddie Gonzalez had been let go by the Marlins after 3.5 years, and the resounding response around Major League Baseball was, really? It was kind of hard for people to believe.
Well, he is the winningest coach in Florida Marlins history, and that says a lot about Freddie. He's done a great job with very little to work with. And you got great players like Hanley Ramirez, Dan Ugler, and a pretty decent pitching staff. But I mean, he really brought those guys together, and they played well for the past 3-4 years. And I was really surprised. You know, I know all the controversy with the Hanley Ramirez situation was kind of built up, but I was really surprised they let him go. But when they did, the first thing that came to my mind is this is great for the Atlanta Braves, because it's an opportunity for Freddie to come back to their Braves family. And you heard Freddie early in the interview say Bobby and him are like father and son, and it was just a perfect match for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, and all it did was make things a lot easier for Frank Wren and company when deciding on the new manager for 2011, because it was really a no-brainer as far as the Braves were concerned. Hayward draws a walk. A 2-out walk for Jason Hayward. He's been hit by a pitch, a base on balls, and that'll bring up Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman also walking his first time up. .310 batting average for the spring. Still looking for that first home run.
Well, he got it last year off of Roy Halladay. His first big league home run. That's pretty special.
Skies this one to deep center. Again, Ankiel racing back. Track, wall, out of here. There it is, number 1 for Freddie Freeman. He'll touch home behind Jason Hayward. Second home run of the inning, and the Braves now lead it 3-0. Both bombs to straightaway center.
It just shows some of the power that Freddie Freeman has. And we were just talking about his first Major League home run off of Roy Halladay. And this is his first home run of the spring off of Uneski Maya. The first of many for Freddie Freeman.
Hey, we've seen quite a few games in this ballpark. When there's no wind blowing out, you're hitting home runs to center. You're making some serious contact in this ballpark. This is hardly a hitter's haven. Much like Turner Field, more of a pitcher's park, which is consistent really with all the ballparks in the Braves organization, including Coolray Field back in Gwinnett. 3-0 Atlanta. Jordan Schaefer trying to get in on the action. This guy's won the left. Playable for Morse. And the side is retired. But the Braves do some yard work. A bomb by Chipper. Followed by a straightaway center jab off the bat of Freddie Freeman. 3-0 our score. Nationals 3-0. Don't forget to catch Sports Night weeknights at 6 and 11 Eastern Time on CSS for the latest baseball and March Madness updates. Tune in tonight after the game for more Braves coverage as the hosts talk everything from spring training to the regular season outlook. Don't miss it later tonight on CSS, and they'll be joined by Tom Glavine and John Smoltz. It's a pretty good dais right there. The pitcher Maya to start things off. Cuts and misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tim Hudson now with a lead to work with.
Hudson's starting to figure it out in the latter part of this, well, his 5 innings expected to pitch.
Hudson talking about the fact there's a swing and a miss, strike 3. Dave Hudson, a handful of strikeouts in this ball game. Our Cook's Pest Control Outlook looks at the records for the 2 teams last year. Atlanta 91 victories, of course, earning the wild card spot in the National League. The Nationals got off to that great start and then eventually cooled off. 69 victories. They certainly believe they'll be able to improve on that total this season. Desmond puts a charge into the baseball. Deep left center field. Back, and off the wall. Schaefer will throw it into the cutoff man. A 1-out double by the National shortstop, Ian Desmond.
And that's what they like about that young man. He can play some good defense, getting better there at shortstop, but he can possess a lot of power in that bat. Just a good swing.
Desmond with 27 doubles last season. Rick Ankiel, speaking of doubles, had one earlier. He's 1 for 2. Just to complete the thought on Hudson. Hudson recently talked about his approach now as opposed to when he first came up with the Oakland A's. Back then he was averaging about 8.5 strikeouts a game. He says now my approach is to get guys out within 3 pitches. I'm not worried about strikeout totals. Get them out early, get them out often, and he did such a great job of that last season.
I remember facing Tim Hudson when he was with the Oakland Athletics and I was in Texas. I would just wait for something up in the zone and never get it. And next thing you know, I'm rolling it over. Ground ball after ground ball. I mean, he's just a terrific pitcher, has good command, he continues the way that he's going, I mean, he could be a Hall of Famer also. We might mention his name to be in that Hall of Fame years from now.
Hudson lifetime 165 victories, a 3.42 earned run average, and again, he's still got plenty left in the tank. Braves on top 3-0. And Keel takes one low. It's a big year for Rick Ankiel. Protecting the plate, stays alive. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Now the Nationals outfielder Jason Worth waiting on deck. And warming up in the Atlanta bullpen is Kenshin Kawakami. Expecting to see Kawakami today, Scott Proctor, and Christian Martinez. Just inside, and Keel draws a walk. 2 on with 1 out.
That's a good job by Ankiel laying off of that inside fastball. Wow. That was a close pitch. I thought it painted the inside corner.
3rd walk for Hudson. And now Jason Worth could tie this one up with 1 swing of the bat. He's walked and flied out to right. Grounded to short, could be 2. On the second for long, over to first, double play. Gonzalez to Ugla to Freeman, the new double play combination for your Atlanta Braves. Braves on top 3-0. Chipper Jones and Freddie Freeman giving the Braves a 3-0 lead. Bottom of the 5th about to get underway, and we've seen the last of Tim Hudson as he will be lifted for Brooks Conrad. We hope to be joined by Tim Hudson later on this inning. Tim Hudson stands to be the winning pitcher. He threw 78 pitches today, 33 of them balls, 45 for strikes. And got those 8 groundouts, which he looks for so often. Well, Brooks Conrad, what a season 2010 was. Some major highs and some major lows. And in the middle of all that, Conrad was such a valuable part of this team. Unfortunately, in the nature of sports, very often people remember what they saw last, and what they saw last out of Conrad was some tough defense in that playoff series against San Francisco. Pops this one out to the shortstop. Out number 1. But you know, for those that will continue to harp on some of the woes that Conrad had late last season, you got to remember too, Brooks Conrad won a lot of games for the Braves.
He sure did. He was a big reason why the Braves made it to the playoffs, and I think Bobby Cox and all his teammates remind him of that. And I talked to him earlier today, and he's in good spirits. And, you know, the past is the past. He's looking forward to build off of those mistakes and just continue to get better. I mean, it happens. You play in this game a long time, it's going to happen.
Base hit from McLouth right up the middle. Second hit for Nate McLouth as he continues to tear it up this spring.
This is great news for the Atlanta Braves. My biggest question mark coming into the season was that center field position. If Nate McLouth returns to his Pittsburgh Pirate days and put up numbers like that for the Braves, he's just going to catapult this team to higher levels this year. Chipper's healthy. You get a leadoff hitter now getting on base for those RBI guys behind him. I'm excited.
It would be easy to write off McLouth after the bad season, but I mean, you got to remember, it was 2008 when this guy hit 26 home runs, drove in 94, and stole 23 bags, and that was, of course, with Pittsburgh, an all-star season. I don't know if he'll ever approach those numbers again, but certainly you have to have some level of talent to do that, and eventually you would expect his play to at least approach that mark.
Well, even in 2009 when he was traded over to Atlanta, he put up some pretty good numbers, and he really defensively was outstanding, and he hit some big home runs in 09 for the Braves. So expectations were really high on this young man last year, and unfortunately it started in spring training. He struggled and it went on into the season. But this year it looks like a different Nate McLouth. He knew spring training was going to be very important for him, and you can see his preparation this offseason. He is ready to play, and this is a great sign for Fredi Gonzalez.
I don't think the calendar could have turned any faster for Nate McLouth's liking. I mean,
That's right.
He was so ready to take 2010 and throw it away, wipe it out from his memory, and get ready for 2011. And you just saw you see a smile there. You didn't see that at all in 2010.
Well, he's such a good guy, and just talking with him, even through the struggles, he was still positive. He still had a smile on his face, and he knew that if he's going to play this game, you're going to have your negative times, your bad times, but you're going to have many positives as long as you keep your head on right and continue to work hard.
And it certainly wouldn't be the first time in baseball history that a guy had a down year and came back with a great year.
You're right.
If he can somehow solidify himself as the center fielder, it really does a world of good for this lineup as a whole, because the Braves, while they're not stockpiled with huge sluggers and guys that are going to put up monster numbers necessarily, I thought the benefit last year for the most part was that it had very few holes. And a lot of teams can't say that. You look at some of the teams out there and they're real top heavy, 1 through 5, you know, it's murderer's row, but then you get 6 through 9,
right,
and there's major holes. The Braves, I mean, think about this. You could have Freddie Freeman batting 7th, 8th in the lineup. That's not too bad if that's the case.
That's a good problem to have, and believe me, by the end of the year, Freddie Freeman will not be hitting 7th or 8th. I expect a lot of good things, but that's the luxury that Fredi Gonzalez has going into the season. You put Freddie, the rookie, into a sort of a relaxed position. Take the pressure off him, hit him 7th, 8th, let him make some adjustments early, let him start getting comfortable, and all of a sudden you're going to see that young man take off.
Gonzalez looked like he wanted time, didn't get it. Takes the pitch down low for ball 2. All right, I'm going to let you put the manager's cap on here, Brian. Let you be skipper. Assuming Nate McLouth continues to do what he's doing this spring and earn the center field job, where do you put him in the lineup?
I'll lead him off.
Lead him off?
Yes. I mean, he's one of the fastest guys in the lineup.
Running on that pitch as Gonzalez sends it out of play to the right.
He's a good base runner. And he can steal some bases for you and get in scoring position for some of the boppers. you look at this second spot, Gonzalez is hitting there now, but I think that puts Prado back in his comfortable position. A guy that's a contact guy that's going to put the ball in play. You can always hit behind the runner with Prado. And Prado, we've seen him. He can hit for power. I mean, he's almost a third place to a fifth place hitter. Yeah. Prado is. And he showed us that last year. So it's good problems to have.
Mile high pop up. Ramos throws away the mask, and on the second attempt gets it in the mitt for the out. So 2 away, and the man of the hour, Chipper Jones, to the plate. Last at bat for Chipper Jones, resulting in his 3rd home run of the spring. Straight away center field. No chance for Ankiel.
He's healthy, folks. And that is an awesome sign for the fans in Atlanta.
Jumps on the first pitch, hits it down the left field line, crossing into foul ground and out of the reach of Morse. Every now and then you have a discussion with somebody and you say, you remember where you were when? I remember where I was when in Houston, Chipper Jones had that fateful play where he tore up his knee, and there was just that gasp of air. It was like a punch in the stomach, because at that point everything was going so well for the Braves in first place. Chipper was starting to come on. He had an on-base percentage of around 400, and you just knew that would be trouble without him there. This is a fly ball over the head of Worth. Rounding third and coming home is McLeod. Cruising into second with an RBI double is Brian McCann.
Chipper Jones.
Beg your pardon, Chipper Jones. Grizzly to write him off there.
So he's healthy. You got to give him some credit.
So Chipper Jones, a homer and a double in his last 2 at-bats.
Good job by Nate McLeod running on contact there as soon as you saw Chipper hit that ball with 2 outs. So he scored easy.
6th double this spring for Chipper. 4-0 Atlanta now. And the pitch low and away. Brian McCann 0 for 2. Quiet spring thus far, but boy, you just never seem to worry about Brian McCann. He's about as consistent as any catcher in Major League Baseball. Telling the runner to go here, and that's not a good decision. Not close on that one.
Well, once you hesitate, you cannot take off.
Chipper's like, why you want to do that to me? It's spring training. Don't make me run. 4-0 Atlanta. there in television land. Braves leading it 4-0 here from Champion Stadium in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Top of the 6th about to get underway. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan joining you, and joining us from the Braves dugout is the man who stands to be the winning pitcher in this ball game tonight, Tim Hudson. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. I tell you what, kind of a mixed bag there for your outing. You had 26 pitches in the first inning. Looked like it could be one of those longer days, and then you settled down and a dominating performance when it was all said and done.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I almost felt like I shot par golf through 5 holes, but went OB twice. But all in all, it was okay. Obviously I wasn't in the strike zone as much as I'd have liked, but it was a good day to go out there and get some work in, work out of some jams, and try to make some pitches.
Yeah, Tim, it looked like you were working on something early in the game. I know you have a great sinker. Are you just trying to make sure you got great control and great command of that pitch?
Well, right now, you're just trying to work on commanding your fastball, and right now it was a little tough for me today. I was missing down with it, which is good, but I was just having a little bit of a tougher time getting it up in the zone, bringing it up a little bit. But as the game went on, it was a little better. I was able to try to go out there and throw some splits and throw some off-speed pitches. It wasn't a very crisp day for me by any means, but anytime you come out of the game and it's 4-0, you can't complain.
As LaRoche steps in with a 1-2 count. Tim, when you look back at last year, 25 quality starts among the leaders and earned run average. Is there anything you can do to actually add to that season? Obviously, an all-star campaign, hard to ask for more than that.
Well, it was a fun year for me. It was great just to be back out on the field, being healthy, feeling healthy again. And, it was just something to build on. It was definitely something to build some confidence coming into this year. And I like how I feel right now. I like how our club's playing. I like where our pitching's matching up. And I feel like we were pretty good last year, but I think we're even better this year. So it's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, Tim, we certainly look forward to watching you in 2011. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Tim Hudson joining us from the Braves dugout. As you see, Kenshin Kawakami on the mound for Atlanta. Last year, well, again, a year that Kenshin would certainly like to forget. 1-10 the record. And 2 years ago, we talked about the fact that Kawakami had the ultimate mitigating circumstance with the lack of run support. But last year, he'd be the first one to tell you it's on him. He just didn't pitch that well, and he needs to improve in 2011. Up the box and into center field, LaRoche has his first hit of the night.
Oh, that was a bullet back up the middle.
CSS is the only place to experience it all when it comes down to college basketball in the South. Don't miss the action tomorrow as Florida takes on LSU at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Visit css-sports.com to see the most up-to-date schedules. And of course, that's college baseball with Florida and LSU. Got some basketball on the brain as well with March Madness going on. Brian Jordan grinning ear to ear. His Richmond Spiders victorious today.
That's right. Vanderbilt got caught in the web, baby.
Got caught in the web.
Caught in the web.
How many times have you used that?
Oh, I love it. I use it all the time. Every time somebody doubts Richmond Spiders, I use it.
Now, who do they knock off today?
Vanderbilt.
Wow.
Now they got to match up with Morehead State, who upset Louisville.
Swing and a miss by Morse. Never gets cheated.
And the only reason we're talking about March Madness because that's a big part of spring training. Guys wait for this. Well, I remember when I was playing on the field, when March Madness hit, guys were in front of the TV every second of the day.
One ball, 2 strikes now to Morse. Kenshin Kawakami will likely be a bullpen guy this year. I'll tell you a little bit more about the Braves bullpen from last year in a moment. For most of the season, the Braves bullpen one of the best in baseball and might be a little bit better this year. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Nice job by there. Kawakami going inside. Morse got handcuffed.
Wow, that's a backup sinker. That's a late movement. That ball just ran in on the hands of Morse. He had no chance of hitting that ball. Good pitch by Kenshin.
Cook's pest control bullpen stats last season. The Braves had a .311 earned run average. That was third best in the major leagues. And I tell you what, Brian, I know Billy Wagner is gone, but I've got a lot of faith in what right now is a two-headed monster in Craig Kimbrell and Johnny Venters, who was so good last year as a rookie. I think the bullpen will once again be a strength for this team.
No question about it. And after Venters' year last year.
Skyle to center, routine for McLeod. He'll take care of it for out number 2.
After Venters' year last year, I mean, he's coming into this season with so much confidence. 0.00 ERA so far. I mean, he's really throwing the ball well, and he wants that closing job. I mean, you can see the competitiveness in him, and it just gives Freddie a lot of options. I mean, you can go with the righty, the lefty. I like to see you go with that one closer so he can just build that confidence as the year go on, but just you got options, and every manager wants options.
Ramos takes ball 1 outside. Freddie's been put on the spot. You know, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? He hasn't outruled using both. It's possible that we could see 2 guys combine for that job. Kimbrell was very good once he came up, particularly in the postseason. Both those guys were almost unhittable in the postseason. But I think Venters might have the edge in that not only is he having a better spring, but last year Venters just was battle tested so much, and time in, time out came through in the clutch. Schaefer camps under it and puts the glove on it for out number 3. Pretty good inning for Kenshin Kawakami. Braves still in the lead. Braves breaking out the lumber here of late in this one, leading it 4-0, thanks in large part to 2 home runs, one by Chipper Jones and one by Freddie Freeman. The Nationals with a couple of changes. The new catcher is Jesus Flores, one of the guys that's been around for a while. And speaking of guys that have been around for a while, 6-year veteran out of the bullpen, Todd Coffey, hard-throwing right-hander. The numbers last season, nearly a strikeout an inning. Coffey's been a guy that has always been on the doorstep to be a regular closer. Has just never been able to completely break through. And right now they've got a battle going on for the closer spot in Washington. There's talk about a couple of different guys that could grab the job. Probably not going to be Todd Coffey. Tyler Clippard, one of the guys that's fighting for that spot. First pitch, a strike call to Brian McCann. Braves out hitting the Nationals 5-3. As the wind has picked up, temperatures dropping a bit. Beautiful weather during the daylight hours and comfortable weather here in the twilight.
I'll take this weather anytime. Starting to cool off. Players get a chance to see what the night looks like. The nightlife. Talk about learning to play under the lights, and when it gets dark, players need to see that before the season gets started.
And of course, most of the games in spring training under the sun. 2-1 pitch. That's scorched in the right for a base hit. First hit for McCann.
Good swing by Brian McCann. Inside fastball, and he was able to turn on this pitch. You don't want to challenge McCann with that fastball in. Former teammates Adam LaRoche, Brian McCann, having some fun over at first base.
One of the 5 teams that LaRoche has played for since 2009, of course, the Atlanta Braves. As Uggla takes a look at a ball. 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Coffey. Dan Uggla 0 for 2. Quiet spring thus far, 220 on the average, no home runs. That's in there for a strike. The Braves gave up a couple of pretty good players to get this guy. Mike Dunn, left-handed reliever, and Omar Infante, who was so valuable last season as the ultimate utility guy. But this is what Atlanta has needed really for a while, that extra right-handed power bat. And Dan Uggla, poised to have a great season, puts a good charge into this baseball, and that'll split the gap. Uggla easily into second. McCann gets the green light. The throw is bobbled, and the Braves tack on another run. An RBI double for Dan Uggla.
Brian McCann showing his blazing speed around the bases. Scoring from first base. And this is Dan Uggla. He has power in all fields. Splitting the right fielder and center fielder with a bullet. B. McCann, give him a lot of credit. B. McCann is in shape this year. He looks good. Said he worked harder this offseason. He wanted to lose a little weight. And he looks good.
The numbers on Dan Uggla in 5 years with the Marlins, these are home run totals now. 21, 27, 31, 32, and 33. And if he can do anything close to that in Atlanta, he is going to be a huge asset.
Yes, he is. Just getting back to Brian McCann, I mean, one thing he wanted to work on this offseason was getting himself in the best shape, because he felt like in the past, when he gets late in the season.
Hayward golfs one deep to right. Worth looks up, and it is gone. Goodbye.
Oh, man.
First home run of the spring for the J. Hay kid, and the third for the Braves today.
And the J. Hay kid's first game after missing the last 5 games with a back injury, with back soreness. Well, that soreness is gone.
Back looked good on this one, huh?
Oh, man. Talk about possessing power, man.
You know, you saw those tents there in the background. Those were not here a year ago.
That's exactly right. That's the J. Hay rule right there.
The problem was you had so many executives getting their cars dented on BP balls hit off the bat of Hayward as Freeman skies one down the left field line. And a nice play by Morse to get over there to haul that one in. And Todd Coffey is getting beat up here in the 6th. There's the Hayward tents.
The Haywood tents.
And no dents in the TV truck yet. That does not have a tent providing it. If we go off the air, folks, you'll know why. Jason Hayward will probably be at bat.
And the truck is just lucky the wind blew that ball down, because he hit that ball hard.
Schaefer with a dribbler. 2 gone. And Kawakami is going to stay in the game and hit.
It's like Schaefer's timing is still just off. He's getting out in front. He's not sitting back on that back leg and hitting the ball with some authority. He's just kind of reaching out there trying to put the ball in play, and you know, that's a sign of struggling.
Strike 1 to Kawakami. Seven runs on 8 hits, 3 long balls for the Braves today.
Don't sleep on Kinson's power. He has some power. He can swing the bat. Showed a highlight last year when he hit a home run and he got a bear. That was kind of the tradition.
Squibber to first for out number 3. The side retired, but not before. An RBI double by Uggla and a Jason Hayward down to right. Braves on top, 7-0. Braves leading the Nationals 7-0. Spring football around the corner on CSS. Don't miss out on the preview of your favorite SEC and ACC team, including national champion, the Auburn Tigers. Visit CSS-sports.com for the complete spring football schedule. We're covering all the bases here today. We got a baseball game for you. Threw in a little bit of basketball. And it's that time of year for folks in the South getting excited about spring football as well. Braves trying to hold on to a 7-0 lead. 3 home runs in this game for Atlanta. Kenshin Kawakami in relief of Tim Hudson, who, if you joined us late, hurled 5 scoreless innings. Stands to be the winning pitcher. Near right fielder for Atlanta is Wilkin Ramirez, and he's opening up some eyes. He came to Atlanta in kind of an oh-by-the-way deal in the middle of the season. This ball is hammered to left, and a nice job of tracking it down by Jordan Schaefer, who's got speed to burn. Going back to Ramirez for a moment, Wilkin Ramirez kind of flying under the radar. He's a guy that has put up at times some terrific numbers in the minors, but has been unable to get it together at the major league level. He's got 11 career at bats, and they still believe his combination of speed and power, if he can ever put it all together, this guy Bryant could be a player.
Well, we had a chance to see him in Gwinnett last year, and you said he has a lot of power. But last year we didn't see that in Gwinnett. We saw his speed, incredible speed, but he has that potential, and I think that's why the Braves traded for him.
He's sort of one of those sleepers in spring right now. He's having a pretty good spring, and he's the guy that might, when spring is over, he could be in the outfield. One of the fourth outfielders or fifth outfielders for the Braves.
The new batter is the new catcher, Jesus Flores, 2 of 19 during the spring. Flores right now finds himself number 3 on the depth chart. A lot of teams only keep 2 catchers now on the active roster.
Well, it's about pitching. You got to have that pitching. When you have good pitching, good bullpen, a lot of teams like to carry 3 catchers.
Of course, the Braves have the great luxury of having a very reliable backup catcher in David Ross, who re-signed late last year. He'll be around for another couple of years, and he is so valuable both offensively, defensively. Great clubhouse guy. Very few teams have a backup catcher the caliber of David Ross.
That was another good signing.
2-2 is laced right into the glove of Chipper Jones. Chipper's been busy over there at third today.
Good instincts by Chipper. And that ball was hit hard.
Back at the top of the order in Desmond. Desmond a strikeout, a walk, and a double to left. Kawakami with that elongated windup slowly brings it to the plate for a strike.
It's that time of spring where you see the starters staying in the game a lot longer. You look up and see Chipper still in the game in the top of the 7th inning. That's surprising.
Would Bobby Cox have left him in that long?
You know, Bobby will always give the players the option. And, you know, that's a great luxury of Bobby Cox. You know what it takes to get yourself ready. If you feel like your timing is there, then, you know, Bobby will say get 2 at-bats and get out of there. But, you know, that could be the difference of managing styles here.
Well, I think it's important to note that while the two have a great deal of respect for one another, and certainly Freddie learned a lot under Bobby Cox, the two are different in some ways. You know, they're not carbon copies of one another.
Well, I heard from a lot of players it's not the same spring training of the past, and you know that's a good thing. I mean, a new manager comes in, he has to establish his own style, and I think Freddie has done that this spring for this team. A lot of players say, "Hey, I wasn't used to staying out here this long, going over the fundamentals," but that's what Freddie does.
A lot more PFP, as I understand.
Exactly.
2-2 pitch.
You know what the big change is for the pitchers? They have to shag now. They got their work in and they could leave the field and go play golf. But now they got to sit out there and shag doing batting practice. That's a huge difference for the pitchers.
Kawakami wheels and deals the 2-2. Blasted foul to the left.
Kinchin looks pretty good. I mean, he's mixing his pitches well, keeping hitters off balance. And he really has some good stuff. I mean, give him credit. He had some tough breaks the last couple years for the Braves. Not a lot of run support. And sometimes, you know, a Japanese pitcher coming over pitching, you put all that added pressure on yourself.
Comes back with a fastball. Bouncer to second, taken care of by Dan Uggla. A 1-2-3 inning for Kawakami. Stretch time here in Central Florida. The Braves on top 7-0. Out hitting the Nationals 8-3 and 3 home runs in this ball game. As you see another look at Fredi Gonzalez, all smiles today, and a lot of people happy about Fredi Gonzalez being the new Braves manager, including the longtime veteran Chipper Jones.
Fredi is awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's only one guy in Major League Baseball that could have made this transition as easy as Fredi has, and you know, it's because of the fact that he was here for 4 or 5 years under Bobby. He went to Florida, experienced his success down there, and now he's, you know, now he's back where we feel home is, and he even brought one of his best players with him, which was really nice. He's going to do just fine.
Comments from Chipper Jones talking about the new skipper, Fredi Gonzalez, and I know Chipper speaks for a lot of the players. This transition has been about as smooth as one can be when you follow a Hall of Fame manager like Bobby Cox. New third baseman for the Nationals, Alex Cintron, over at third, replacing Bixler.
Alex Cintron, he was with the Chicago White Sox not too long ago, and then with Arizona Diamondbacks.
One of those guys that just always is close to making it as an everyday guy, but has not been able to get over the hump.
You see flashes of brilliance out of him sometimes.
McLeod rolls one to second, one away. McLeod 2 for 4, and what could be his final at bat of the day. So you like McLeod leading off. Now today Fredi's got this guy, Alex Gonzalez, in the 2-hole. Last year, for most of the year, it was Jason Hayward. What are you thinking 2-hole?
I'm thinking Prado.
Yeah.
Martin Prado, a guy that has great bat control. He's not afraid to hit behind the runner. Matter of fact, he enjoys it sometimes. He loves to see that runner go, and that hole opens up, and I mean, he is the best at it. And you put him in a position where he's comfortable, and it allows Jason Hayward to go back in that lineup, be in that RBI position, and just focus on power. I think hitting him at second last year, he kind of changed his game. He's a patient hitter, but he has so much power. I know for me and fans, they want to see him use that power. But being a young rookie, he got into that mindset, well, I'm hitting second, you know, maybe I shouldn't swing at the first fastball I see, and you know, maybe I should try getting a runner over sometime. And you don't want Jason Hayward getting a runner over. You want him driving that ball over the wall. So to put a young kid in that position, a lot of things were going through his head where you want him to just focus on driving that ball, using your ability, using your 5 tools, and just playing the game. And I think it really affected Jason last year.
That's a good point, and the numbers would back it up. He hit nearly 100 points better when he was in the 6-hole as opposed to the 2-hole. As that ball gets through the 5-hole, the catcher 2-2 the count.
And that's just Jason wanting to be that team player. You know, he grew up hitting 3-4, and you put him in second, knowing the game of baseball. Second place hitter is the guy that getting guys over, putting the ball in play, and I think he just, you know, kind of outthought himself sometime last year.
Gonzalez does a good job of holding off that one, kind of tantalizing outside. Count fills up 3-2. Gonzalez out of Venezuela, the same native land of one Martin Prado, who we were just talking about earlier. Prado, I thought, was really the pulse of this lineup last year. Didn't matter where you put him. Didn't matter who was in front of him, who was behind him. The guy just produced all season long. And I really thought the Braves could have survived a lot of injuries, and they did. But really the straw that broke the camel's back was the one to Prado late.
No question. Late in the season, your MVP for the team, and that was a huge loss for Bobby Cox.
Payoff pitch. Down low, and Gonzalez draws a walk.
And I think if you ask Bobby Cox, that was probably the one that just, like you said, the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, he had done such a great job switching lineups, moving Prado all over the field, but you knew you were going to get that consistency out of him. He could hit him third, second, first. It didn't make a difference. And for a manager, it's a lot easier when you can do that with one player. And it was Prado, but when he went down, it was cross your fingers.
Chipper Jones having a big night. A homer and a double. Yeah, I think as we see most of the regulars in the lineup today, of course, the one notable absence is Martin Prado, but he is so valuable to this team. And now with less pressure on him, if this team stays healthy, I think you'll see him hit for more power.
No question. I mean, like I said, it depends on where you hit him in this lineup. He's a team player. If you hit him second, you know, he's going to be in that position where, you know, he's going to move the runners over at times. And that's a great luxury for Fredi Gonzalez to have.
1-1 offering in there for a strike. Well, we talked about the offense for Chipper. Playing some good D as well here today.
It's almost automatic for Chipper. I mean, he comes in on the ball with the best of them. He has perfected that bare hand throw in one motion. And it's good to see him make that play coming off the knee injury, too.
And a strike 3 call. Chipper knew it. And he'll take the slow walk back to the dugout. I think a lot of people wondered when the news of the injury came down. Remember, there was already speculation that Chipper Jones was going to call it quits after last season regardless. Then the knee injury happens. A lot of people figure, well, maybe that's the final nail in the coffin. Obviously it wasn't, especially a prideful player like Chipper Jones. He didn't want to go out that way.
Right, he's such a great competitor. And I think no real competitor, especially a Hall of Famer that he's going to be, want to go out like that. You want to go out on your own terms. And we see it now. I mean, Chipper worked hard this offseason, and he wants to have a great year. And he wants to go out on top, whether it's this year or next year. Or the year after, who knows?
McCann takes outside. Brian McCann, born in Athens, resides in Sewanee, and a fan favorite in Atlanta. And what the numbers and everything else, statistically speaking, will not tell you about Brian McCann. He's one of the classiest guys you will ever meet. Goes out of his way before a number of games to talk with fans. Very involved in the community, charity. Two and two. Fredi Gonzalez talking about Brian McCann, saying we're not that far off from this being Brian McCann's team.
I mean, Chipper's, you know, maybe got a year, hopefully 2 years, and then it's going to be his club. And I think he's little by little, you know, taking over that role.
And when you think about it, you got to have a lot of respect in a guy to already be proclaiming him the next Chipper Jones in terms of leadership and ownership of this team.
Well, I mean, you look at the start of his career. I mean, 5 All-Star games in a row. Whether he likes it or not, it's going to be handed to him. I mean, he deserves it.
On the ground, past the shamrock and into the second baseman's glove. I've never had a chance to say that. I had to, folks. That's out number 3. The side is retired. We move to the 8th. Braves on top, 7-0. 7-0 here from Champion Stadium. Want to remind everybody, right now is the best time to become a Braves season ticket holder for as low as $4 per game. Get a full season, that's 83 games, for only $332, and get benefits like player meet and greets, stadium discounts, on-field events, and more. Visit Braves.com or call 404-577-9100. New pitcher for Atlanta is the hard-throwing right-hander Scott Proctor. Proctor battling his way back last year from injury and looking to be another asset in that already very deep and talented Braves bullpen. Got a couple of other changes to tell you about in just a moment. There's a line shot off the glove, and that's one of the changes we were talking about. Ed Lucas is the new third baseman in for Chipper Jones, and it didn't take long for the ball to find him.
It will do that every time. A young player gets in the game, and the ball will find you. Good effort by Lucas. Just couldn't hold on. He had it in his glove for a second.
Base runner for the Nationals. That's Frazier. Also in defensively for Atlanta at shortstop is Brandon Hicks. So Alex Gonzalez's day is done. There's Hicks, who got a chance to play some baseball in Atlanta after spending most of his time with the AAA club in Gwinnett.
Really had the Braves rushed him along. I mean, they had no choices at that position. And he's a guy that I know the Braves would have loved to keep down in AAA and play every day and get as many at-bats as possible. But last year, because of all the injuries, he was brought up and used more as a pinch hitter, a pinch runner at times. But this kid is really talented. He plays great defense. His defense is at big league level already, but he has to swing that bat, and that's something that the Braves are hoping that he can turn around this season.
Jason Worth at the plate, 2 balls and a strike. New catcher for Atlanta is J.C. Boscan. Another guy that's been around the organization for a while. Terrific defensive catcher. He got a call up late last year. And the count fills up now on the Nationals right fielder.
Speaking of J.C. Boscan, probably one of the best arms as a catcher in the Braves organization.
Payoff to Worth. Jammed him as he fouls it back. What about Scott Proctor, Brian? I mean, everybody wants to know, is he ever going to be the pitcher that he was back with the Yankees?
I really think so. He had Tommy John, and last year we saw him at the beginning of the season where we felt like he was being rushed along, and he came out and he was trying to throw that 95, 96, and the Braves quickly said slow down, and they sent him down to extended spring last year, and just to get some work, just to slow him down and not rush into things. We saw him at the end of the season. He started throwing a lot better. He showed good command, and you know, this year he wants to show the Braves that he is back.
And he allows the infield single, now the walk, so 2 on, nobody out for Adam LaRoche. And we'll have a pinch runner for Jason Worth, so his day is done. This is when the scorebook gets very untidy.
A lot of young guys get opportunities late in the game.
Pinch runner is Jesus Valder. LaRoche, 15 in the last couple of years. The Pirates, the Red Sox, the Diamondbacks last year. A couple of years ago, the Braves, and now the Nationals. And if you're a first baseman and you're trying to be an all-star, good luck. I mean, you think of some of the guys that play that position now: Pujols, Howard, Teixeira, Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder. That's just for starters.
A lot of competition. It's going to be interesting to see Prince Fielder in the final year of his contract.
LaRoche hits that one on the screws in the gap in right center, and it gets by McLeod. 1 run will score. 2 runs will score, and the Nationals are on the board at 7-2.
That's Adam LaRoche. Such a smooth swing, and fastball just drilled it in the right center field gap. And he just stays back so well.
Pretty swing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And that ball just took off when it hit the ground. He had that backspin on it.
Well, they haven't gotten anybody out yet, and it doesn't get any easier with this guy. Michael Morse, who leads the Grapefruit League with 5 home runs. It's a pinch runner at second, Tyler Moore.
Young guy Tyler Moore getting a chance to be on TV, smile for the cameras.
You're not saying that he knows where the cameras are you?
No, he's just on base. He knows he's on TV. He's smiling. You got to smile at all times.
Is that how you were when you first came up?
When I first came up with the Cardinals.
Ear to ear, huh?
Whitey Herzog threw me in the game against Nolan Ryan, of all people. And I got my first hit off of Nolan Ryan. I could have ended my career right there.
1 for 1 lifetime?
1 for 1 lifetime off of Nolan Ryan.
That's
you got to love it.
Do you have the tape somewhere?
No.
No?
No, I don't. But I have the memory inside.
The memory, okay.
Deep inside.
Played inside your head, I understand.
That's right. I said, if I can hit Nolan, I can play in the big leagues.
I'd say that was a good philosophy, and obviously it worked out well.
It sure did.
Morse licking his chops. 3-0 pitch. Takes it high, and Proctor really struggling. Well, the Atlanta Braves leadoff luncheon is set for Thursday, April the 14th at the Marriott Marquis. Have luncheon with your favorite current and former Braves while getting an insider's look at the upcoming season. Reserve your seat today. Visit Braves.com/luncheon. With Brian Jordan, I'm Mike Morgan. The Braves leading at 7-2. Hope everybody is enjoying St. Patty's Day and gearing up for opening day, which is not far away. Less than 2 weeks away. Braves will start things off on the road.
Looks like Scott Proctor's just trying to overthrow. He's trying to throw too hard, and his command is just not there. At some point, you got to have a good fastball or a good curveball. And right now, he has neither.
Bernardina has grabbed a bat in the on-deck circle for Washington. Both teams making wholesale changes here late in this one. Braves expected to bring out Christian Martinez after Proctor.
Well, how about Christian Martinez? Last year, he came from nowhere, got up to the big leagues, and did an outstanding job for the Braves.
There's Martinez warming up. Two and 2 to count to Jerry Hairston. 0 for 3 in this one. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and that's a big one for Proctor. Get a little confidence going.
Looked like Scott Proctor took a little bit off of that fastball, almost a changeup here. And Harrison was out in front.
Scott Proctor, one of the more intense guys that you'll ever see on the mound. He's in a bit of a battle. Those final bullpen spots are going to be awfully difficult to get this year in Atlanta.
Looks like he's relaxed a little bit now. He's starting to throw that fastball over the top, and he's very smooth with it.
Bernardino, the lefty. Proctor. Chopper to first. Glove cleanly by Freddie Freeman. Runners advance to second and third, but a big second out for Scott Proctor.
And what a smart play by Freddie Freeman. Some first baseman would have tried to turn a double play there, but he knew it was one out. Scott's been struggling a little bit. Let's just get that shore out, which makes it 2 outs. And hey, Scott's going to have to bail himself out with the man on second and third, but making sure you get that shore out.
Swing and a miss.
And the reason I say that, because if I'm a rookie trying to make the ball club and trying to impress, I may have tried to turn a double play there.
Bixler 0 for 3 tonight. If you go back to a year ago, as we got toward the end of spring training, like most teams, the Braves had 2 battles going on. One for the final utility spot. That was won by Brooks Conrad. And the other for the final bullpen spot. And that was won by Jesse Chavez, who's no longer with the team. But this year, we're probably going to have the same scenarios, particularly for that bullpen spot. Saw Chris Medlin earlier today. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he threw a side session again today. He said he feels great. He's on schedule, and he's just chomping at the bit. And I said, hey, just slow down and make sure you're totally healthy before you try to get back out there. But you know, it's a positive sign for the Braves to see Chris Medlin coming around after Tommy John surgery.
That's a name easy to forget, but then when you think about it, goodness, I mean, Chris Medlin was having a very good season before the injury. (3-1). Slow roller to second, and no play. A run will score.
That was the old no-look throw right there.
Ugla did everything he could just to track it down, but really no play once he got it.
Well, Ugla was playing the batter up the middle, and he had a long run.
So a run scores. That makes it 7-3, and that's going to do it for Scott Proctor. He'll be responsible for the 2 men on. We'll see Christian Martinez in just a moment. Want to remind everybody, you better hurry. Top seat locations to see Chipper, Ugla, McCann, Prado, Huddy, Hayward, and the rest of your Braves at Turner Field are selling fast. Ticket packages starting as low as $50 and include as little as 5 games or as many as 83 home games. Become a Braves season ticket holder today. Visit Braves.com or call 404-577-9100. The new pitcher is Christian Martinez, who really impressed Bobby Cox late last year and had a good end to the season, setting up the possibility of making this bullpen. We just saw Dan Ugla. Want to hear from Freddie Gonzalez talking about a guy that he's very familiar with, managed him in Florida, and now gets a chance to manage him with the Atlanta Braves.
If you're good offensively, or if you're good doing a lot of things, they're going to try and find something that you're not good at. You know, so I'm not worried about anything. I'm going to do me, and do what I do on defense, and continue to work but yeah, no, there's no worries there. There's no, I guess, lack of confidence in any aspect of my game. So I know what I bring to the table, and offensively and defensively. So
it's one of those things. It gives people something to talk about. That's it.
That, of course, was Dan Uggla talking about his defense. And it's no secret, Dan Uggla, as much as we praise the offense, and, of course, everybody has, Dan Uggla not known as one of the better defensive second basemen. But as you hear him talking, Brian, he's ready to show people that he can play a solid second base.
Well, he doesn't lack any confidence at all. And I've seen him make some great plays, but then I've seen him make some routine plays look pretty hard. And you saw the play right there where I think normally if it was the season, he would have probably dove and got up and made the play, but he tried to just run over there trying to prevent some type of injury, which I don't blame him. And he tried to make that no-look throw. I only saw Roberto Alomar ever make that great play, no-look, but Ozzie Smith also makes those no-look plays. I mean, that's a tough play there in spring training. You don't want to risk injury. I think he's going to be fine at second base.
Flores lines one up the middle, a base hit. And he'll score a run. And the Nationals cutting into that lead. It's now 7-4. All 4 runs coming here in the top of the 8th. Run, of course, will be charged to Proctor. Here's Cintron. Bouncer up the middle. Bleeder gets through. Bobbled in center. And that'll let the runners advance. Now the ball kicks away. And another run will score. And things getting a little bit sloppy here in the 8th. All of a sudden, it's a 1-run game.
Wow, sloppy is an understatement. And this is a high chopper up the middle, clearly a base hit. And here Schaefer just takes his eyes off the ball, trying to look at the runner instead of focusing on that ball in his glove. And the last thing you want is Dan Uggla to get hurt on that short throw into second base, pops up and hits Uggla in the chest.
Yeah, that's a double whammy if you're Schaefer. The throw really gave Uggla no chance.
No chance at all, and risking injury there. He made sure he got his body in front of him.
Frazier now at the plate. It's mostly the Nationals' backups doing the damage. That floats over for a strike. Jeff Frazier. Well, it's not necessarily worth mentioning here near the end of a spring training game, but again, I think certainly a focal point throughout the season is going to be defense, which was really a letdown last year for Atlanta. And if you get that straight, with the pitching as good as it should be, with the offense as solid as it should be, I mean, you got the makings of another postseason team.
Well, I think the defense is going to be fine. I mean, you get Chipper healthy. He'll play a good third baseman. Freddie Freeman, he'll start the season there, and he's a gold glove potential. And Dan Uggla, he has confidence. And you pick up Alex Gonzalez, who is a great defender. Wow, fan took it in the chest. A line drive. He keeps the ball, but man, he is hurting. He is hurting. Oh man, he might need a little attention, medical attention there. Took a shot in the ribs. Talk about paying the price for baseball.
Got to get 2 baseballs for that. Martinez recovering nicely with the strikeout. The error by Schaefer. And some tough pitching by Proctor opens up a big inning. It's now a 1-run game. Here from Central Florida. A reminder to get a Braves 5 or 10 game flex pack to secure popular games like Opening Day, Publix Friday Night Fireworks, Kids Run the Bases, the Civil Rights Game, Alumni Weekend, Bobblehead Nights, and more. For the best seat locations, call 404-577-9100 or log on to Braves.com/tickets. A new pitcher for Washington will be Henry Rodriguez. Braves will try to tack on to a 1-run lead. If you're joining us late, the Braves tapping into the power supply tonight. Chipper Jones with a homer in the 4th. Jason Hayward with a homer in the 6th, and Freddie Freeman also a home run in the bottom of the 4th. Speaking of home runs, here's a guy that is no stranger to the long ball. Dan Uggla. We talked about earlier how consistently good he has been supplying the power, going back to his days with the Marlins. Wilkin Ramirez on deck. The count now 2-0. Our Cook's Pest Control look at Dan Uggla shows you the consistency with the power and the amount of home runs that Atlanta had last year compared to the Nationals. The Nationals actually outslugging the Braves 149 to 139. Atlanta was 11th in the league in home runs, and that's certainly a number that could use some improvement. And Dan Uggla, a good guy to help that number indeed.
A great guy to help that number. 33 home runs last year. RBI clutch hitter. And we know the Braves lack that offensive power last year. Wow.
And thank goodness for the helmets. Did that miss him? Well, I thought this ball hit him.
Man, I thought it hit him too.
Oh,
hit the bat, foul ball.
It hit the bat. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
I actually thought at first the ball hit him in the head.
That'll make your heart skip a couple beats. I don't think you'll be digging in right now.
Dan Uggla, who was born in Louisville, Kentucky, resides in Columbia, Tennessee. Played his college ball at East Carolina. And takes that one for ball 4. He'll be quickly lifted for a pinch runner. That was ball 3. Okay, that's what I had. I thought Dan Uggla knew something I didn't. He started trotting over to first as if he drew a walk.
I think he's still nervous about that ball almost hitting him. He lost all thoughts.
So a ball thrown at his head, and he forgets the count. This is a bat he'd like to soon forget. Almost unfair, 95 miles an hour. The comeback pitch by Rodriguez.
I think Dan just wanted to get out of the game after that.
Enough of this, guys. That'll probably be the last time we see Dan Uggla. One away, and here is Wilkin Ramirez. Good chance that Ramirez could make the roster as one of those extra outfielders. Teams normally carrying 5.
He's doing a good job in spring, and that's why Frank Wren went out and got him here last year. He's still thinking his power will come once again, because he had a lot of power early in his career. He can fly. He can flat out fly around the bases. He has a good arm in the outfield. He has all the intangibles to get it done.
Ahead on the count, 3 balls, no strikes.
Hold on to it.
Ramirez out of the Dominican Republic, as are so many Major League Baseball players.
Braves do a good job over in the Dominican Republic, recruiting players and signing players.
Swing and miss. Freddie Freeman on deck. Braves leading at 7-6. Once led this game 7-0. forget, we'll be back with you on Saturday. Same locale, same station. The opponent will be the Mets. As Ramirez hacks and misses. Second strikeout for Henry Rodriguez.
That's just a fastball straight down the middle. No movement. He's just blowing it by the Braves hitters.
Freddie Freeman walked in the second, and then in the bottom of the fourth, after a walk to Jason Hayward, a towering home run to straightaway center. Freeman out of the state of California. Real likable guy as you talk to Freddie. Very personable. Competitive, too. I seem to recall, Brian, you and I catching Freeman in some very competitive ping pong battles in the Gwinnett dugout.
Yeah, he was scared of me last year. I definitely wanted to take him on in ping pong. Never had the chance, though.
Freeman, of course, a longtime friend of Jason Hayward. The two were drafted the same year. You want to talk about a draft? First round pick, Jason Hayward. Second round pick, Freddie Freeman. That's getting it done.
Let's room them together. Their whole career. Rodriguez is looking pretty good.
Henry Rodriguez might have to get a lower number if he keeps pitching like this. 63 usually reserved for guys that don't make the roster, but I would have to imagine with this Washington staff there's a lot of jobs up for grabs. Rodriguez not afraid to come inside, folks.
Well, that's scary. If you're Freddie Gonzalez over there saying, I can almost get hit in the head, and now Freddie Freeman almost gets hit in the foot. Maybe I should have took everybody out of the game last inning. You want to get him that last at bat.
Now the payoff. And that'll do it. Side retired. Henry Rodriguez sits him down in order. We head to the ninth. Braves clinging to a one-run lead. Protection of the unbeatable combination Cook's Pest Control and Centricon. Call Cook's to get a free pest and termite evaluation. Don't forget you can follow the Braves with MLB.com's At-Bat app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. We're going to tell you more about that in just a moment. But first, We've got Jesus Valdez at the plate. We've got a new Braves second baseman. That is Diori Hernandez. Two balls, no strikes. There's Diori. He got a chance to enjoy life in the major leagues late last season.
Late defensive replacement. Pinch runner. He had a big hit last year.
He did. That's right.
Home run.
Hey, look, as the injuries started to come in bunches late in the year, if you were in the Braves organization, you had a good chance of moving up and contributing.
That's right.
Speaking of the Braves organization, we've talked so much about how deep and talented this staff is. There are 3 arms that are not here today. They've already been assigned to the minors, but they've got a lot of people talking. One ball third, one gone. Now I can tell you about that great MLB.com at-bat app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Get spring training scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at-bat to 31826 or visit Braves.com for details. The names I'm alluding to, and you're going to hear a lot of them: Tehran, Vizcaíno, and Delgado. Routine bouncer to short. Hicks makes the play for out number 2. And Brian, I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year one of those guys makes it to the big leagues.
Again, the Braves, plenty of options as far as starting pitching.
It's amazing, and most of those guys are going to start off this year, I believe, at the Double-A level, but probably won't be long before you see them in Gwinnett. And you never know when the opportunities are going to come. Look at Mike Minor last year.
Exactly. I was just about to say, Mike Minor, Beachy, right now they're battling for the number 5 spot. And both are looking impressive in spring training thus far.
Mike Minor, a former high draft pick. Brandon Beachy just kind of came out of nowhere.
Wow, free agent.
Out of Indiana Wesleyan. Fly ball to left and a diving catch. And there's a guy we're awfully familiar with
Matt Young.
Gwinnett. That's Matt Young.
Great effort, extending out there, impressing a lot of people with that catch.
And that will put the finishing touches on another Braves victory, the 13th of its kind this spring. 7-6 your final score as Atlanta holds on to win it against the Nationals. We'll have final totals and highlights when we return in just a moment from Lake Buena Vista, Florida.